Hey, hey, hey. Hey, gang. Hey, I can't wait for you to listen to this week's episode with Laura Steinbrink and Fran Donato, where we're talking utilities on the blockchain and their vision for brilliant efficiency and creating a much closer and more beneficial relationship for all of us with our utility companies. It's a really interesting idea. I can't wait for you guys to listen to the episode. You know, we recorded it last week when we were just coming off. It was the end of the week, and earlier in the week we were coming off the Blockland Solutions conference that just happened here in Cleveland. So we were still in the afterglow of the all things blockchain there. It was a really great event, so we spent a few minutes talking about our impressions, you know, both of us of the event, what we got out of it. It was really great. And also, while I was at the event, I happened to be interviewed by Cleveland.com, which is the website for the Plain Dealer, the large newspaper here in Cleveland. And they were nice enough to give me a quote in their article, one of their review articles. So if you want to see the quote there and read a review of the conference, I just put it on the website on the resources page. So you can go to jimjimsreinventionrevolution.com/resources. Check out the article. Also, just a reminder that I put this T-shirt together. That has it was a kind of not a promotional T-shirt, but just like an enthusiast T-shirt for Ohio and blockchain and what's going on here. And I put that T-shirt design together, and I wore it a couple days while I was at the conference. So it's kind of fun. I got tons of great comments on it. People loved it. They're like, "That's cool. Where can I get one?" And it was just a fun thing. It says Ohio blockchain's better on it. This kind of a funny throwback design. It maybe looks a little bit maybe late 70s, early 80s, the fonts and the colors and stuff. But you can find it. You can buy it because it's right. There's a link to it right under that article on the same resources page. So again, jimjimsreinventionrevolution.com/resources. Look for that T-shirt design. You can buy it off of Amazon. If you don't want to go to the website page, just search Blockchain Ohio in Amazon.com and it'll come right up. And also, I'll put a link for it in the show notes of this episode, so look for it there as well. And you know, it's the holiday season. I know everyone's looking for last-minute gift ideas, so this is the perfect one, so make sure you check it out. And now it's time to check out the episode, so here we go.
Welcome to Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, the show that explores reinvention in the digital age as it relates to career, creativity, and technology. Stay tuned for interviews with professionals, entrepreneurs, and creatives that have reimagined success and are making a pivot. If you'd like to listen to the entire back catalog, visit jimjimsreinventionrevolution.com for instant access. And now, here's your host, Jim.
Hey everybody, hey, it's Jim, and welcome to episode 45 of Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. And I'm talking today with Laura Steinbrink, and we're talking about efficient utilities on the blockchain, and I might add brilliant efficiency, right?
That's right.
Well, we'll find out what she has to say about it. So, Laura, welcome to the revolution.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it, and I had a nice little fun drive down here today. So we're sitting in Bedford, which is in a really beautiful area. It's like right on the edge of the metro parks. Is that right?
It is, and it's a former brownfield that was redeveloped.
Oh, it is? Okay.
For an office park with a couple of major corporations around in this building that we're in as well.
Okay. I haven't been down to this part of town much, so it was actually a nice drive this morning, a little bit of snow, getting in the mood for the holidays here. But anyways, hey, thanks for being here. What I wanted to talk about was we met it seems like last week, but it was really earlier this week at the Blockchain Solutions Conference that was just held in downtown Cleveland. So people listening out there know I've been mentioning it, and it was great to see everybody there. But you were there, and you were representing your company in this startup alley, which we'll talk about in a second, what that is. But what were your impressions of being involved in this and seeing all of this energy around blockchain in Cleveland?
It's really exciting. I thought the conference was put together fabulously, a great representation of our city and of the opportunities for blockchain technology to revolutionize pretty much everything that we do in our lives. And the people, the organization of it, the companies that were there, it was all just really great.
What was your big takeaway? Were there like 2 or 3 key things that you were like, oh wow, I didn't know that, or you really made a good connection, or what was the big thing you got out of it?
I think the biggest idea that I'm taking away from it is that we still really don't even know what is going to come from this technology called blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
And being open to opportunities is what is going to create more opportunity for everyone.
Right. Well, I like that choice of words, open, in terms of staying open and being creative and trying to get a feel for what's really happening. So that's one of the reasons why I went. I wanted to kind of understand, how bigger business is looking at it. Like, I think there was a lot of this activity with ICOs and small startups and sort of the crazy, speculation part of Bitcoin and blockchain. But this conference was a nice mix of all of those things, I think. So there was some speculators there, but there was some real heavy duty, corporate guys that were like, yeah, we see the value in this, and they're all in, they're moving forward with it. Right. That was kind of one of my takeaways. So yeah, it was really cool. A lot of energy. So it's fun. I'm a little exhausted, which I'm imagine you are too, but still like buzzing from the energy of what was happening there. So speaking of blockchain and creative projects and all these kinds of things, the project that you're working on, your company, is called Brilliant Efficiency, or Brilliance. How do you say that? Tell me how you say it.
Brilliency is the name of the company.
Brilliancy.
And
sorry. Okay.
Brilliant Efficiency is our first product.
Aha. Okay. Great. So you're the CEO and the founder. Is that true? Okay. So tell me how this got going and what it's all about.
So the story really started back in 2003 when the power went out in Northeast Ohio, the big blackout.
Oh, okay. So that was 2003?
Yeah, it was 15 years ago.
Okay, so I think probably a lot of the country actually remember that, because I think it started here.
It started in Cleveland, Ohio.
Right in Cleveland, I think. But it blew out all the way to the East Coast into New York City, I believe.
And Canada.
And Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So this was like blackout 2003. I remember people were like printing T-shirts and all this kind of stuff. It was a pretty mega big deal back then.
Right. The power went out and then the water went out. That moment in time, I had little kids, infants at home. Okay. And, we didn't have cell phones with flashlights on them. We didn't have iPods.
Right.
We had
years ago, right?
Batteries in your maybe CD player,
mm-hmm.
portable CD player, and flashlights, candles. It was a whole different world.
Right. And so what was the impact that you thought, I didn't like this experience?
Well, it made clear for me something that's just fundamental to the way we are approaching the product strategy, which is people and communities, businesses as well, cannot survive without access to reliable electricity and water.
Right. Okay.
They are the most important piece of Maslow's hierarchy of needs anymore, because you don't do shelter or food without energy and water.
Right. Okay.
So it was sort of a fundamental transformation, sort of the way I think about it, and then what do we need to do in order to assure that people have reliable access to electricity and water on an ongoing basis. That's what's driving.
Okay, so that's really the fundamental mission that you're on. Is that how you describe it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how does that roll out through Brilliency?
So it's all about where is the market today and where is it going, and what kind of products and services can you develop in order to, we're a business, right? So we have to make revenue, but we have to add value. People aren't going to pay us if we're not adding value.
Right.
And so we sat with the question of, what's the problem? What's the problem that needs to be solved? What's the business opportunity? What will people pay for?
Mm-hmm.
And it was really through a consulting engagement in 2011-12 that the business model and strategy that we're pursuing today became clear.
Okay.
Which is this.
All right.
People need to have a relationship. People, businesses, communities need to have a relationship with their utilities, and the utilities need a relationship with their customers if we are going to successfully transform the utility space based on all of the technology changes that are coming.
I see. Okay. And Well, they have a relationship now, but what's your vision in terms of the different relationship they need going forward, I guess?
Dynamic and real time,
Aha,
as opposed to really one way and unengaged.
Unengaged. Okay. Yeah, I would think that describes me with my utility company. I am unengaged. I look at the bill. Maybe it's on auto pay, and I have no idea how much energy I'm using, or if the rate is a good rate, or I'm pretty unengaged, right?
Right. So fun fact,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
You can use this at a cocktail party.
All right.
Because, it is party season. So the U.S. EPA says that the average American spends 6 minutes per year looking at their energy bills.
Okay. Over the year, yeah.
Yeah. So we have 5,000 people using our platform right now, and on average, when they engage with it, they are spending 4 minutes per engagement, which is about 12 to 15 times a year. So 800 times improvement on the amount of engagement that we are able to deliver value to both the people and the utility.
I got you. So tell me how this engagement is happening. So you mentioned like this app or this experience that you've created, right? So what did you create?
So we created a web portal. We call it version 1,
Okay.
1.0, that has been in the market in Cleveland through Cleveland Public Power for the last roughly 18 months. Okay. So its customers are using our platform. It shows up as a program branded for Cleveland Public Power called My CPP. So they go to CPP, they click on the My CPP button, they experience the Brilliency platform.
I see. Okay.
And it is there that they are able to see their consumption, understand what things they could do to save if being efficient is important to them. And they are actually engaged in a dialogue with the utility through a whole question, ask and answer process where the utility says, we want to know A, B, and C about our customers so that we can better serve them. They answer the questions, and then the utility is able to then follow on with more questions, more services, more concepts, tips, etc. Fran is a My CPP participant.
Oh, really? Okay. We should mention Fran DiDonato is also here, which we're going to talk to her in a second. Because I think I was looking on the website in terms of rolling this stuff out, that you're the director of operations. All right. So I want to hear what your take is on all this stuff. So we'll get to you in a second. Sorry. But okay. So my question is, all right, you've created this, like there are websites for my utility company, whatever they are, across the country, around the world. Everybody, those things are online. They have their own website. You can pay your bills online. Like this is out there. So how does this different engagement happen? Like what's different? Is it just a web portal, or is it mobile, or what else is it?
All right. So how does it show? This is a little bit like the whole blockchain thing. We could go back. It's like, do you really need to understand how it works, or just what the benefit of it is?
What the benefit, like how it's engaging me differently,
Exactly.
What different information I can get out of it, or that the utility that can get out of it, right?
Right. So we are releasing to the market next month.
Okay.
Our new mobile app and our revised version now 1.5 web platform.
Okay.
So all your listeners could go, if they wanted to, be part of our beta test group. If they went to brilliancy.com and then clicked customer and then clicked get the mobile app, they'll be asked to put in a little bit of information so that we can direct them to the right platform, Android or iOS, and they can join our beta test group and really experience for themselves what the different engagement would be.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I think that's what kind of caught my eye when I was talking to you, where you're actually showing me the app, which it's not officially out, so maybe you're a little shy to talk about it. But I saw the inner workings, and I'm like, oh, this is very interesting to me. So it's basically kind of making the interface, the user interface for a customer, for an individual customer, at least for me, much easier access to basically giving you a dashboard on your phone where you can look at your usage rates very easily, right? Where if you're managing a rental property or even your own home, you have a large home, et cetera, you can see what's going on with it just at the click of a button versus sitting down to your laptop and logging in each different utility, right? Because this is aggregating many different utilities.
Electric, gas, and water.
Electric, gas, and water, right? So you can see really the operation of your house. It kind of reminds me of, if you work in manufacturing, like I used to work for General Motors and automotive, I mean, this is standard stuff when you're operating a factory of any kind. You have a dashboard, you have all the inputs and outputs and supply chain information, all this kind of stuff. For your business, this has been happening forever. But as an individual, we've never had access to this kind of information, or maybe even the thought process to manage our homes or assets like this. But I think this is very interesting, like for the first time in a way for utilities, that you're throwing this thing together. So that's pretty cool.
Right. So one of the first things that you'll see that's different about it if you download the mobile app is that you can have one place to go where you can interact with your electric, gas, and water all in one place. So you don't have to manage this bill, that bill, et cetera. It's all there in one place for you. The other thing is, like you said, tenants or multi-tenant properties, or people that perhaps they're the business owner as well, so they have a house and a business, or maybe they have aging parents or millennials and they happen to be managing the utilities for both their parents or their children. All of that can be in one place. So if nothing else, it's reducing app and website fatigue for the end user, that they can just go in one place and manage it all.
Right, I see.
If nothing else.
Right, so you could identify, if your son or daughter that's in high school has like a crazy party over the weekend, because you could see like an increase in, utility usage or something. You're like, what's going on? Why were the lights on 24/7 when we were out of town, right?
Well, totally, because you can, couple of things on that one, you can integrate your IoT devices to it. So if you have for example, Nest or a Honeywell thermostat, or you are like me and you've now smart home plugged out and light switched out your house, you can provision all that stuff in there so that you can actually see what the different devices are consuming in comparison to what your actual utility consumption is.
Ah, interesting. Okay, I like that aspect too.
How about the running toilet? Or that leak that you didn't know you had. I mean, the stories people have been telling me since we released the app about their water bills, that they didn't know they had a leak, and then the next thing you know, they get a $9,000 water bill because it's half water, half sewer. Right. Because for every gallon of water you use, there's an equal or sometimes larger sewer bill associated with it.
That's true. So you have sewer on there as well that you can see, or no? So
you don't dashboard your sewer. Your sewer bill payment is a thing, and communities handle those things differently. And so, that's a detail.
I got you.
But for sure, your water.
Okay.
And so you can use it because the app will tell you if we're getting the right kind of data from the utility that's able to show us where your consumption is changing. Not all utilities are sharing with you the information that you need to manage them well.
I see.
So part of what we're doing is creating a space where the utilities can actually evolve their relationship with you as well.
I gotcha. Well, I'm glad you bring that up, because I have some more detailed operational questions that I want to get into with Fran. So, So let's take a second. You can pass the mic over to her. See if she's ready to engage with us this morning.
I'm ready.
Okay. So what you're talking about, so two things come to mind in terms of kind of, digging into a little more details about the app and the data. And one is, where do you get the data from? Are there APIs out there that are publicly accessible, or that have always been there? Or are you working with the utilities to kind of, get on board with this concept or idea?
So the data comes from the utilities. It is not public. It's not open to the public, and that's part of the problem. So it's a relationship that we have to develop utility by utility. Utility by utility.
So, you're engaging with them of like how you get the data, trying to figure out what the format of the data should be, the timing of the data, like how much you ping it, what the resolution, I guess, is, right? All those kind of aspects.
Right. And it depends on the utility if they have smart meters throughout their system or not. We can do, if they do have smart meters, then we can do a day-by-day analysis. But with CPP, who we've been working with extensively, they're not at that point. So we use the data how they qualify it, and I believe it's monthly.
I see. Interesting. What's their feeling about it? Like, are they thinking like this is a good idea for them to give up this data, or are they kind of closed-minded and sort of, centralized kind of in their thought process yet?
I mean, I think that's the initial concern that they have when they start speaking to us. I'd have Laura comment on she's been the person who's been connected with CPP specifically in terms of how they gave up the data. But I think that's with utilities that we've been talking to, that's their initial approach. But the data goes directly to the person, which is their personal data. So you're not giving people access to data that's not theirs. But I'll let Laura speak to that because she's had more experience with it.
Well, I have one more question for you, though,
Okay.
before we switch back. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, this is interesting because it's kind of a little bit new, and I think this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the visibility and the data that's going to be out there for everybody, the data analytics and these kind of apps that I think will just be our more common experience with most things that we're going to be interacting with. But tell me a little bit more about the app and how you got it developed and this sort of gamification part, which I noticed on the website. Is this rolled out? Can I talk about this yet?
Yeah, I mean,
or is
like
super
Laura, Laura said, no, you can go on our website and you can download it to your phone, and it is in beta form, so you're not going to have your specific data currently, but you can download it and you can play with it and see how it works, and frankly, I think it's fabulous. It's like Laura said, it's everything in one spot.
Right.
The graphics are very good, very simple, so you can understand it quickly. And then you can send messages directly to your utilities right then and there. You can report an outage. You can send them an email that you're annoyed or that you like them or whatever you want to do. They can send messages to you. So if there's going to be an outage in your area, they can directly message you. If it's Earth Day, if it's Christmas season, and they want to tell you to use LED lights, these are all things that the utility can send messages directly to their users.
I see. Okay. And tell me about the sort of reward aspect to it.
So every time someone logs in or interacts with it, they gain points when they answer questions. So that's another piece of what the utility is getting is data from that specific property or that specific account. So they, users answer questions. Do they have pets? Do they leave their television on for their pets? Do they have, how many refrigerators do they have? Do they have central air? So they're answering all these questions. Then, on say the electric company, then they can see what's inside that home. They can understand how they can develop programs that would specifically relate to all their constituents that they're working with. If everyone has 2 fridges, maybe they have a program where they just give out efficient refrigerators.
Right.
And that's kind of,
I see.
Probably would not be a program they would do, but that could be something that they could get the data from.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Well, I see the value in them gaining these insights, and then they transfer some of that value back to you, to keep you engaged. That's a reason to kind of, keep telling me information, and I'll give you a reward. I mean, it's now, is this part, the way that the rewards are being handed out, is that the part that's being built on blockchain, or that will be built out with blockchain, the platform underneath?
No, that's current, and that's in its form.
Oh, this is current.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the utility can also give you tips on how to reduce your usage, and when you implement them, you also gain points, and then you can redeem the points.
I see. So
there's just different prizes and things that the user can redeem. If you want to speak specifically to the blockchain piece, that's when I would pass it to Laura.
Okay, very good.
But no, the gamification side of it, at this time, I think there's things that we could probably build in to and use blockchain with, but currently the way that we have it set up, we do not use blockchain for that.
I see. Okay. Well, let's talk about the blockchain piece.
Okay. Then. All right. So remember how I said that we're building the platform today to help utilities and everybody else get to where they need to be tomorrow?
Yes.
So here's the reality, just in short. The utility infrastructure that we have in this United States, be it water, gas, or electric, is at least 100 years old.
Right. Yeah.
Right? And the technology is 100 years old. And the business model is 100 years old. And it's all centralized.
Right.
Meaning...
Okay.
So let's just pick apart electricity, because this is really where the opportunity is and where the major shift is going to happen. Centralized power plants that then distribute across this intricate system of substations and other until it finally gets to your home.
Right.
We can now do generation and storage inside the home or business and put it back out. So you hear terms like distributed energy resources, you hear terms microgrid, you hear terms islanding, etc. And all of that occurs when there's a different model for interaction with what is now called a prosumer, which is where you are a consumer and a producer at the same time.
Okay.
So you're a prosumer. And so therefore the concept is that you could buy, sell, and trade sort of in any moment in time based on market forces, need, demand, supply, etc.
Right.
Right? So in today's system, we can't really do that. If you have solar panels at your home, your meter will spin backwards when you're producing more than you're using.
Yeah, we've kind of had a little bit of an inkling like, oh, this can be done, but it's not very common. It's only in specific use cases, right?
Right. And specifically, for example, to the state of Ohio, and every state regulates their utilities differently. And then you've got the federal government, and then you've got, okay, by the way, everybody in the world uses electricity and water. So this is both a local, state, federal, international opportunity.
Right.
So what we know to be true here may not actually be the same experience everybody else has.
Sure.
So I often like to challenge people that struggle to think about it based on what they know happens in our geographic location to just imagine that they were somewhere else for a moment.
Right.
But anyways, I digressed. So it's called transactive energy. And it means that we are transacting around the choices that we are making to use, sell, buy, trade, etc. In real time based on market forces.
I see.
And so we are designing the platform that will facilitate the transactive energy market.
I see. Okay.
And our belief is that by starting simple, where people are today, which is the utility needs a relationship with their customer because their customer might not really love them.
Right.
And
may not appreciate them for what they do. Right.
Or they might not appreciate them, and they might need to be delivering new products and services in order to evolve their business models. They need their customers. And the customers have assets and resources that they want to better manage. So we're helping on both sides of the equation today create efficiencies. Do we necessarily mean that directly, that we're saving energy or we're reducing people's kilowatt hours? That's a natural thing that would happen if you're fully engaged. But what we're really doing is creating an efficient way for us to transform the market.
I gotcha. So when you create this new platform, which I think is brilliant, okay, how is the interaction or the value transfer take place? If you're talking about putting it on blockchain, are you talking about creating kind of a token-based system that'll be passed back and forth in terms of trading this value? How does that work?
So in two ways, right? So one is, to your point, the token-based system. So we announced just this week that we've partnered with Switch, which is a token, an open source token platform, which will reward customers who have carbon reducing behavior changes with a Switch token.
I see.
Now, the value proposition here, or the opportunity really, is that other organizations recognize the Switch token as valuable. And so you could earn the Switch token and then you would monetize it because someone else who was seeking to reduce their carbon would,
I see. So the Switch token is out there already?
It's out there.
And it's a known token that's in this world of...
Newly released.
Newly released, okay.
We've partnered with them to bring it into the Brilliency wallet, which is still under development.
I see. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. So I like the idea of leveraging something that else is out there as well. So it kind of gets this kind of a network effect, like more people are using it, know about it, then more people want to use it and know about it. So
exactly. And so that's a behavior-based reward system that tokenizing and monetizing. And so the Switch token is recorded on blockchain. So we're using the blockchain technology to provide some of that measurement and verification and transactional details that you need ultimately to allow this new market system to flourish.
I see. Okay.
So who had what at what value at what time? So you can see where the blockchain concept, which is where you're breaking down the pieces and parts and you're putting keys on them and you're chaining them together. That if Laura had 5 kilowatt hours that I did not use right now, and you, Jim, said I will pay you 15 cents for them, we're going to record both of those things at the same time. I demonstrate because I have IoT deviced my house, so I can prove that I didn't use them in that real time.
I see. Right.
I record that, you record it, and it either is monetized in a token or it's monetized with dollars.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of things going on in my brain right now, so I can't speak. But I'm trying to process it all. I just see the vision of where it's sort of like combining things that Facebook has done or showed us or trained us to do, right? In terms of giving this feedback or information back to the utilities. So once they understand your behavior, what's really in your house, the devices that you have, the usage rates that you have, et cetera. That's kind of one piece or part of it. But now that they know the behavior, now they can start incentivizing you with different ideas out there to like carbon credits or whatever to like, lower your usage or change your usage patterns or shift them in like certain times of the day. For example, like I know in California you have these brownouts and stuff because people are really overloading the system at 2:00 in the afternoon when the sun's the highest and all those kind of things. So if you change your behavior, they might incentivize you and give you some cost savings with it, right? Because they're saving if you lower your usage rates, et cetera.
Right.
And now you have this mechanism to transfer the value amongst maybe across even different platforms, maybe just maybe within one utility, but maybe even across utilities if everybody kind of gets on board and sees this vision, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. Wild stuff. Okay. Cool. Well, really fun. Okay. So let's now that we understand what's going on and how kind of forward thinking this is. Well, one last question before I want to kind of dig into your background a little bit. When is this stuff rolling out, or what's the kind of the development schedule? Do you have one kind of fixed in your mind, or what's happening with it?
So we are a startup company.
Okay.
And we have market validation. We've been in the market with a viable product that is being sold with a software as a subscription license because it's an enterprise level platform, and we are selling it to utilities and housing authorities. Right now, that's our primary market focus: electric, gas, water, housing authorities. And the mobile app is releasing in January.
In January, okay.
And when it reaches ultimately in its final, part 1 stage into the stores, it's going to create a new opportunity for us as a startup company to test some of our hypotheses and logics around revenue models.
Gotcha. Okay.
We believe there are some others out there for us besides the straight up software as a service. And we're going to let the community of users tell us where to go.
Right.
But we have some things we're testing.
Okay.
Just leave it at that.
All right. That makes sense. Very cool. All right. Well, let's rewind a little bit, okay? Because I want to understand how you got interested in this and how you decided, well, I'm just going to start this company and do this and start using all the new technologies that are available. Like you said, there was this impetus, but were you always a business person? Have you always been an entrepreneur? Like, why did you think that you are the person that can pull this off and do it?
Crazy. So I think in hindsight, I am an entrepreneur. I am a serial
hindsight.
In
okay,
hindsight.
Let me hear more about that.
I am a serial entrepreneur. I've been starting things since, I guess maybe early college would be the first sort of successful thing that I might have started. Borrowing other people's ideas and models, transitioning them to what I think is the better opportunity and putting it into play.
I see. Okay. Interesting.
So it was in 2008, so 10 years ago, that I attempted the first for-profit enterprise.
Okay. And
this
how did
would
that
be,
go?
This would be enterprise number 2, Brilliancy.
Okay.
So enterprise number 1 is 10 years old, and it's a sustainability consulting company, and it works internationally. And
Oh,
we've
okay.
gotten
And that's
some
still, that
big
company's still
first,
around?
and- Yep.
You're still doing work for it? Oh, awesome. Cool.
So,
Is that something that's been able to fund like the early stages of this new company?
not directly. The two are completely independent organizations, but
Right.
from me as the founder of a startup company, it certainly has given me a little bit of a runway to be able to stay focused on what needs to happen in a not fully capitalized model.
Right. I got you. And obviously it's synergistic because you're discovering these, trends and talking, kind of in this world and talking to those companies. So, wow, really interesting. Well, we have a few minutes left before the end of the episode here, but there's always a few questions I like to ask of people when they come on. And one is when you're diving into these new technologies and you're blazing this new trail, is there anything about technology that you see that's like giving you a pause or is overwhelming or presents a real struggle?
Well, so what I've come to understand and watch, if it's both on the software side and on the hardware side with technology, is that what we know today is not going to be the same thing that we know 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 6 months, right?
Right.
So evolution is embedded, change is embedded in technology. And so the pause is simply trying to find a logical way to figure out what you're going to invest in, knowing that change is coming and it's not going to last long.
Fran, do you have an answer for that question?
I would say for me, Laura mentioned the app fatigue. There's an app for everything. There's a solution for everything. And I think for me, what overwhelms me is that I cannot spend time on all these different things. I think something like Facebook, why it's been so revolutionary is because it's become that place where everybody goes, right?
Right.
So whether you're sending family photos or you're pushing out messages through your business or you're planning an event, everybody's coming to the same place and it's kind of consolidated. And I think that's where it has its staying power. Where that's where I'm kind of excited with something like Brilliancy in our app is because you can it's a one-stop shop.
Right.
And I think that that's where things are headed, where I think businesses will be successful and technology will be successful is when you can bring things together and people don't have to go to like all these different places to find the answer.
Right.
So
yeah, I see that. So considering your take on technology, how do you keep your mind open to this change or welcome this sort of environment that you're living in?
Squirrel, like ADD. I think some people are hardwired to be able to embrace and adapt differently or more than others. And certainly if you're an entrepreneur, you have to be able to be. So but that doesn't, one of the speakers at Blockland on Sunday night was talking to us all about how our brain, the older we get, gets hardwired to say no more quickly because we are able to like see patterns. And if it's not something that is like totally clear to us right away, then we're going to say no like instinctively first. And gave the examples, if you asked a 5-year-old what you could do with a paperclip, they would, he showed us a video of his niece came up for 5 minutes. She was still talking about what she could do with a paperclip. Whereas the audience, 12 things. And he asked them, and when he stopped him at about 12 or 15 things, and then the next slide he showed us was how everybody else had already said that, like in other audiences he had been at. So like we weren't coming up with any new ideas.
So he predicted the answers. Yeah, I thought this was interesting too. So it's like the standard answers were like, oh, well, you could clip papers together with it, and you could do this, and kind of you could make a hang a Christmas ornament with it. There's these things that kind of over time you realize you can do it with a paperclip. Where the young girl was like, oh, you could make a sailboat out of it. You could, she was like wildly creative and, saw no limits or no, because that's how her brain was was open at that time when you're younger, right?
Yeah, so I think the takeaway for me is sort of, it's that, okay, so let me slow down for a minute. When I'm saying no, or my brain is having a dissonance to something, can I pause myself long enough to just say, why am I saying no? And is this something that deserves a no? Or is this something that deserves me going, let me think about that and see what I'm not seeing? And I think that as business leaders, community leaders, and even, I'm a parent, and I would say that being able to adapt to change is super important as a parent. That in these roles, it's my opportunity to practice being open and to remember that my brain might be telling me no when other reasons would tell me, hold on.
I see. Yeah.
Let's see.
Fran, can I get your take on this? Because, so I know your background is being a lawyer, and this is a little bit new to you, I guess more recently being in business, but so how do you think about it? Because you've kind of been reinventing yourself. You have to have your mind open to doing different things, and especially now with technology. So what are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's a good question. Personally, I went to law school because I was interested in it, and I thought it'd be a great degree to have. When I was there, I realized on the litigation side and going to court was not my thing. And I had to think long and hard about why I wasn't interested in that. It becomes kind of a, pardon my French, pissing match where who can win the battle. It's really not about truth or the law, and I hate to say that because that's a sad reflection of our society. But it's a game about who can win. And I didn't want to play that game because the bad parts of my personality come out.
Okay, right.
When I'm playing that game.
Yeah, you have to be super competitive.
I get very competitive,
ruthless,
and I'm not a nice person, and I don't even like myself, so why would others like me? So this is getting real personal for me, but I liked the creative side of it, and I liked the building side of it, and I liked how do you create a law, or how do you create a structure that works and that helps to prevent some of these problems or breakdowns that you see. You'll always have problems. You'll always have breakdowns. You'll sign a contract and something will happen, and you need that other side of the coin. So I don't think that it doesn't need to be there. I just didn't want to put my energy there. And the other part was that I've moved around a lot in my life, and so for me, I've seen a lot of different things. So I've kept open. So I like to stay on the creative side, and I like to, see the possibilities and see how things can be better. And I think one thing that my parents brought me up to think about all the time is how can I be more efficient and how can I be better? We used to actually play this game when I started driving, and we used to stand in the kitchen and say, like, how can you drive from home to this store, like going through the least amount of lights or spending the least amount of time?
Oh, really? Wow. That's interesting.
And then we
you
would
just
play
put your
this
foot on the
game,
gas. That's what I do.
But we would
do.
just play this game like, well, you have to go through 2 stop signs here and then 1 stoplight there. Like this way it's 5 stoplights. So my mind's kind of always thinking that way.
I see.
So, that's...
I gotcha.
That's where I come from.
Well, it sounds like that it's a great thing to kind of have that self-awareness and realize, hey, this one track or path was not quite right for you. You got a lot out of it, but being able to pivot and get yourself aligned with other things you really like doing, I think is
well,
a cool
and I
thing.
feel like with me, I always use my law degree. It's your analytical skills, and so it's like when I was practicing and I was in a governmental entity, that was very challenging for me because I always heard no. And so, so I have had to train myself to think, okay, well, we need to get from A to B. Here's what the law says. How do you get your objective, or what are you actually looking to accomplish? And then how do we get you there? So, I mean, that's really, I think, it's about being able to deal with the gray area and not looking for black and white answers all the time. That's not the world we live in.
Right.
And so how do you get to that best answer, or how do you get to that location with not that straight path?
Right.
So that's the way my mind works. But I mean, I feel like I use my law degree every single day, and with parenting, I have to negotiate and argue with my children.
Comes in handy, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Well, I've got one last question for you.
I just wanted to add,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Speaking of the paper clip, I was laughing when you brought that up because my son has been wearing earrings, paperclip earrings, the last 2 days, and he had to take them out when he went to school today, so they're in my purse. That he's got his friends all to wear earrings of paperclips on his ears.
I see. Another key use for the paperclip. I got it. Very good. Thanks for sharing that. Okay. So, all right. My final question is, Laura, can you share a reinvention revelation that, something that you wouldn't have predicted or you didn't see coming as you got into this new endeavor, or as you realized, oh my gosh, I think I'm a serial entrepreneur. What has happened to me? Something that you kind of found out about yourself, or maybe the business as you moved along here.
So about 10/15 years ago, I used to get feedback that I'm super impatient and I just have to learn how to be calmer and more patient, but just can't control everything, right? Constant feedback. But yet, on the other hand, like being impatient stuff is like a great strength. But, they always say your strength shows up as your greatest weakness. I will tell you, being the entrepreneur and starting new businesses and having to just sort of wait and see has given me lots and lots of opportunities to practice releasing that anxiety or control issue.
Right.
So this whole experience has really taught me the value of actually trying not to control and just letting things happen. And even in the last year, we've kind of gone through this with Brilliency, a little bit of a pivot in our redevelopment of the new enterprise level application and mobile app. And just through those experiences and some others, it amazes me when I actually really practice the art of not trying to control the situation, that people come to the solutions that I wanted them to on their own.
Right.
And when they do that, it's amazing. So now I'm like, wow, this is kind of fun.
Yeah,
so
right.
What used to be
the
just
motivation and feeling is so much more
total
genuine
anxiety
and fun.
relating to something that I find pleasure in, watching other people come to the conclusions that that are going to move us forward. It's just really great.
Well, I think it's a great point, because when you're when you're in work or working in a larger organization and you're responsible for an expertise, I think that sort of point of view can be okay or can work for you. It's like, because I'm responsible, I need to do this, I need to be in charge, whatever. But when you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to build something, and by definition it's building something larger than yourself, then it's like that approach doesn't work so well. You're in this role of, I have to be the conductor, I have to be a facilitator, but in order to actually build what I want to build, you can't build it yourself. You need a team. You need all these other people. So it's kind of that's a great sort of, maybe you might know that intellectually, but you have to experience the feeling, like you just said, to figure out, oh, this is the real value of actually doing this, letting other people get excited and having them really lead, where you're just facilitating now. So that's a great insight. Anyways, hey, well, about time to get out of here. If people want to reach out to Brilliency, which I finally figured out how to say it now, I think at the end of the episode here, Brilliency, okay, or reach out to you or reach out to Fran, where would you send people? How would they get in touch?
Brilliency.com.
Brilliency.com. And could you spell that?
BRILLIENCY.
CY.com. And are you on Twitter? Do you have any other handles you want to throw out there?
We're on Twitter, Brilliency. My personal Twitter is Brilliency Laura.
Okay.
We're on LinkedIn, Facebook.
Okay. Fran says the same. Okay. And did you say that again about how people can get involved or experience this beta version of the app, when the app is going to be ready, what they would do to go download it and find it?
So the app is in beta version right now in both the Android and Test Flight Store, which is for the iOS versions. So they need to go to Brilliency.com, click customer, and then click get the mobile app. They fill out a little form. They tell us what platform they're on, and then they'll be given the specific instructions, because they're different for the two platforms, on how to get into the beta. I can't tell you exactly how long I'm going to keep the beta running versus when the mobile app is going to be in the store, but pretty much T-minus 4 weeks and counting at this point in time.
Okay.
Depends how big that party is on New Year's, I guess.
Right.
Or maybe it's how big the party is on New Year's for the Apple people, because they're really the ones that
Right. That's
will
right.
determine when it's in the store or not.
Okay.
But we are using the beta platform to gain feedback from people. So if it's something that they think sounds interesting, we'd love to get them in there. It is not real data. So it's not 100% of the same experience that they'll get. But they can give us feedback, and we would welcome it. And this is a rewards and games-based program. So there is the potential that there could be some exciting things that just show up and they won't know if they're not in it.
Oh, okay. So maybe little Easter eggs that'll pop out. We'll see.
Maybe. You never know what it is that season.
Very good. Okay. Sounds great. Okay, well, thanks again.
Thank you so much for having us on.
All right. Really appreciate it. Thank you for listening to Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. If you want to hear more, join our mailing list at jimjimsreinventionrevolution.com. See you next time. And remember, the revolution has just begun. So dig in, embrace the process of reinvention, and start realizing the success you've always dreamed of. Hey, revolutionaries, if you enjoyed today's episode and today's guest, let them know by commenting on their Facebook page, finding their Twitter handle or Instagram feed, and letting them know you heard them on Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, and tell them what you got out of the episode, what you really liked, or how they inspired you. I know they would get a kick out of it and will help others find the same value that you found.